What's up guys, this is Joseph with Slidio Studios. Today we're going to be talking about external recorders, what they are, and if they're right for you. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So let's start off by talking about what an external recorder is. So an external video recorder like the one I'm using, which is the ATMOS Ninja 5, highly recommended by the way, it's pretty much the most common one, can record anything directly through the HDMI cable. So the way that you connect this is you connect the HDMI output, given that your camera is capable of outputting a clean signal directly through HDMI, and then you plug it into the input and you're able to record on a separate recorder. So why would you want to do this? You know, don't all cameras have a recorder? Well, yes, all cameras do have a recorder, and that's exactly what a camera should be. You know, record directly to the SD card, for instance. So what's the point of an external recorder? Well, most cameras, especially lower end cameras or cameras that have full frame features but maybe not for cinema use, they record what's called 8-bit 420 internally. So they record that directly on the SD card, but they're not able to do 10-bit 422. They're not able to record that internally, but they are able to actually export that via the HDMI. So what you could do is you could get an HDMI cable connected to an external recorder that is capable of recording 422 at 10 bits, which of course the ATMOS Ninja 5 is totally capable of doing that at both 4K and 1080p and also Ultra HD. So it's able to actually record that data, and now you're basically able to improve your camera's bit rate and also bit depth. Is this a huge improvement? No, not really. There's actually a video that I'll link down below where this guy compared the Sony a7S III, which is a Sony a7 IIIS. I don't remember the name, Sony a7S III, which is a camera that can only record in 8 bits internally. He used an external ATMOS recorder and was able to get 10-bit. There were slightly improvements, especially in color banding, but it's not a huge difference. But if you're someone that records in log footage, that's going to be grading the footage heavily, then that improvement is quite significant, especially if you're going to be really pushing the colors. But on the GH5S, which is the camera I'm using, it can do that internally, 10-bit 422, 500 megabits per second, even at 4K. So why did I get this external recorder? Well, there are also other improvements on this external recorder for the GH5S. For instance, on the GH5S, I'm only able to do 10-bit 422 at 30 frames per second. What if I want to record 60 frames per second? I'll have to lower it to 8-bit. Not anymore with this external recorder, given that I have a sturdy HDMI cable that can handle that signal. It is a lot of signal that it's sending. So if I get the proper HDMI cable, I would be able to record at a higher frame rate. That's not all actually. If you're able to output at higher frame rates, this thing will typically be a better option for slow motion video. But again, the improvements isn't really that drastic. It's not like if you're not getting good footage off your camera, it's not going to get improved by this. In fact, if you're not getting good footage from a pretty decent camera, then there's probably something wrong with your lighting or your setup or your settings, nothing to do with the actual camera. So it's not really going to improve your image quality that much. And it also doesn't improve the sharpness. A lot of people think, oh, I'm recording at a higher bit rate, I'm recording at 422, therefore I should be getting a sharper image. Not really. The sharpness is pretty much going to be the same. So you're not going to see much of a sharpness. The only real difference is if you're going to be color grading your footage, then a higher bitrate does help. Now, there are also some improvements in recording with an ATMOS recorder. On the GH5S, when you record 422 10-bit, it does it in two codecs basically, either long scope or all I. These codecs are very capable, but compared to what the ATMOS Ninja 5 can do, which is Apple ProRes is just a much more sturdy codec. It has less compression issues. It has less blocky. You're able to do green screening more. You're able to do keying, and you're able to push the colors a lot more with Apple ProRes compared to the codec originally on the GH5S. So these are really, really important improvements. And another big improvement with Apple ProRes is that you don't have to wait for Premiere to load so long. A lot of times with these codec like AI or long scope, Adobe Premiere actually has to process the footage in order to be able to read it. With Apple ProRes, you just drag a file in, it's almost instantly done given that you have a powerful PC. And this has actually just been a huge improvement. I don't even use Mac or anything. So you would think Apple ProRes, oh, it's only beneficial on Mac. No, in Premiere, it's super fast. It basically doesn't need to load at all. And it has saved me so much time, especially when I'm editing so much 4K log footage. It's just so much easier that you can just drag and drop without having it to load. So another advantage of the ATMOS Ninja 5 recorder is that it records directly onto an SSD. And I'm not talking about some proprietary SSD, I'm talking about a full-size laptop SSD, 2.5 inches, and has a full SATA port here on the back. So basically that gives you so much possibility. You can take any off-the-shelf laptop SSD, given that it has fast enough read and write, which most SSDs do, and push it in and you can basically record with it. The advantages of that is SD cards are extraordinarily expensive, especially the ones that you need for 422 10-bit. On the GH5S, I believe it's 400 or 500 megabits per second. That's just a huge amount of data, and you need to get very expensive SD cards. And even with those SD cards, they typically aren't any larger than 126 gigabytes. And if you do find larger ones, they're typically sketchy brands, and you don't know how long the SD card will last. So it's actually much cheaper to get an SSD like this one. You can just swap it in. You can get multiple of these, and you can typically find them in larger capacities as well. Another benefit with recording onto an SSD is that you can get a SATA port to USB 3.1, and you can basically connect this directly to your computer, given that your computer has USB 3.1. Of course, and now what you could do is that USB 3.1 is fast enough to support editing directly off the drive. So normally on an SD card, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with this, you have to select all the files, you have to transfer it to another folder. You need to make sure that first of all your SD card is not full, but then you need to make sure you have enough size on your computer to store the extra footage, and typically you don't, so you're forced to do something like maybe store it on a hard drive, and that makes the editing process a lot slower compared to an SSD. And even if you do have an SSD, the file transfer speed is usually very, very slow, and it's a very hideous process. Having an SSD like this, directly connecting it via USB 3.1, you can actually edit off of it. And I'm not even kidding. I've been doing this for a really long time. I record on Cinema 4K, which is the highest, very, very high resolution. Again, with the highest bitrate possible, with the highest color depth on the ATMOS Ninja 5, and I'm able to scroll through Premiere smoothly with no problems at all, and it has just saved me a lot of time when it comes to editing. Actually, one of the reasons why I decided not to shoot 4K footage for so long is because the file just takes too long to transfer. I don't have enough space on my hard drive, let alone the SD card itself reaches the capacity like that. So it's just a really big benefit. So all those features are great when it comes to actually recording the video, but what about the actual monitor itself? Well, this is another benefit of using the ATMOS Ninja 5 is its monitor. So the ATMOS Ninja 5 is a 5-inch monitor, hence the name Ninja 5, and it is super bright. It has 1000 nits. And if you need it a little bit brighter, they actually have a higher end model that's about 1500 nits. I find 1000 nits perfectly fine in direct sunlight, very easy and sharp monitor to see. The monitor itself is also HDR, which means that you can see the highlights and the shadows a lot more for proper exposure. It has a lot of professional features like false color for setting exposure, waveforms, focus peaking, zebras. And I know what you're saying, oh yes, the GH5S also has focus peaking. That's true, but you're using such a small monitor, it's very hard to keep in focus. You might also say that the GH5S has waveforms, and yes, that's true, it has waveforms, but it's super small, super hard to see. And one thing about the GH5S is if you were to try to connect an external monitor, the waveform itself actually doesn't get copied through the HDMI. I'm not exactly sure why. So you're forced to use the small monitor anyway. So it's just much better to have the ATMOS one with a bigger monitor. It's just much easier to use. It has a very, very intuitive touchscreen design. You're not second guessing exactly what's going on. The touchscreen itself, capacitive touchscreen, very nice. The actual design is very durable. It has thick bezels around the edges, so I'm sure it can survive a lot of drops. And you can also apply things like LUTs. Of course, you could do that with the GH5S, but this is a benefit. And another thing is you can output through the HDMI. So you can output either with a LUT or with log footage. So you can output it to an external monitor or to a capture card if you want to do live streaming. And on the ATMOS recorder, you get to choose if you want to record log or you want to record with a LUT on. So if you want to just, you don't want to do the whole grading process, you can just maybe you're just doing behind the scenes footage with the main camera or something, then you can actually record with a LUT on, which is a huge benefit. And you also get great audio controls. There's just a lot of benefit of using a monitor like this. So it sounds like this is a monitor for everyone, right? You get better image quality, you get all those benefits. Everyone should go out and buy this monitor. Well, all the benefits I said are true, but you should also consider the downsides. Firstly, this monitor is, although it's small, it is much bigger and much bulkier. So you're going to be using a much bigger setup, which I don't know if you want that for your shoot. So it's just going to make things bigger, and it's also going to make things more complicated. Now you have to carry an external battery. Of course, because you're recording onto this, your battery on your camera could actually last longer and you won't have overheating problems with your camera. So this might actually improve the battery life, but it's just one extra step that you need. The other thing with this is it's very expensive. This thing is about, this model itself is about $500 to $600 depending on where you get it. And that's not including the SSD, that's not including the batteries, that's really not including anything at all. That's just including the actual monitor and some other small accessories, but nothing that gets you ready to record. So in combination with everything that you need, you're just looking at around $700 for a full kit, and that's a lot of money. That's almost as much as a G85. So at that point, you might as well just get another camera. And it also may be overkill depending on what you're using. Like if you're just recording vlogs or small videos or even a small short film, there's no really benefit of getting that kind of codec, and you're not recording that many videos to the point where recording onto an SSD is useful. But if you are doing professional work where your clients are paying you, getting that sturdier codec is a lot more flexible when it comes to color correction. And also using the SSD itself, it will just make your workflow better. Therefore, you can produce more videos. You can save a lot more time when you're doing the post-processing and stuff. So there are benefits and stuff. This isn't a product for everyone. Like always, if you're not doing any kind of color correction, using this kind of codec is pretty much pointless. And the cool thing is ATMOS actually sells a version with just a monitor, so it doesn't have the actual external recorder. It's a bit cheaper. It's actually, I think it's about like $200 to $300. I'll need to check. I'll just put a link in the description. There are affiliate links, of course, and I'll put links of all the stuff I use in the description. So if you're interested, because again, I wasn't paid or anything by ATMOS to do this video. So if you are interested, please use the affiliate link so I get a percentage of the profits. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. And again, I hope this video was helpful. I know I get the external recorders can be kind of confusing. So I hope this cleared some stuff up. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you next time with another video.